Tomorrow morning, you walk past the school where you learned to read. The gate is chained shut. Not for a holiday, not for repairs. It closed because the last class graduated, and no new children ever came to replace them. Nothing dramatic happened here. No war, no plague, no disaster. The world did not end in fire. It ended in quiet, one empty classroom at a time. And all of it began with a single number that almost nobody was watching. That number is 2.1. To keep its population steady, a society needs each woman to have about 2.1 children on average. 2 to replace her and her partner. And a little extra because not every child survives. Stay above that line and humanity grows. Fall below it and humanity slowly disappears. For almost all of history, we lived far above 2.1. We worried about too many people, not too few. In 1960, the average woman had about 5 children. Today, the world average has fallen by more than half. And in the richest countries, it has quietly collapsed. South Korea has dropped near 0.7, the lowest ever recorded. Japan, Italy, and Spain sit far below the line. China, the most populous nation in history, has already begun to shrink. More than half the world now lives in a country that is no longer replacing itself. Before we walk into this world, there is one important rule. We will assume the whole planet slowly drifts toward the same low number and then stays there. No sudden catastrophe, no magic cure, no alien invasion. We are not imagining the end of the world. We are imagining something stranger, a world where people are healthy, wealthy, and free. A world that simply chooses, year after year, to have fewer children. Now let us watch what happens over the next 100 years. At first, it feels like good news. Classrooms are less crowded. Traffic thins out. Housing finally stops climbing. For a while, a country with fewer children even grows richer. More adults are working, and fewer of them are busy raising kids. Economists have a name for this brief golden window. They call it the demographic dividend. But a dividend is something you collect only once, and the bill always comes later. Because the children who were never born never grow up. They never become workers, or nurses, or teachers, or parents. 20 quiet years of missing babies becomes 20 years of missing adults. So the population does not simply shrink. It turns upside down. For all of history, a society looked like a pyramid. Many young people at the base, a few elders resting at the top. Now that pyramid flips over. A tiny generation of the young is left holding up an enormous generation of the old. By year 20, the cracks are everywhere. Every 2 nurses who retire are replaced by 1. Every 2 teachers who leave are replaced by 1. Hospitals cancel shifts because no one is left to fill them. Pension systems were built on a simple promise. Today's workers pay for today's retirees. That promise only works if each new generation is at least as large as the last. When the young are half the size of the old, the math quietly breaks. Governments raise the retirement age. Then they raise it again. Taxes climb. Services shrink. And the young begin to feel like they are working to fund a world that was spent before they even arrived. So countries go looking for the one thing they can no longer make themselves: young people. Nations that once built walls to keep migrants out begin competing to invite them in. They offer fast visas, free housing, even citizenship on arrival. For a while, immigration hides the problem. One country's shortage is quietly filled by another country's youth. But there is a catch. The places those young people leave are shrinking too. And when every nation needs the young at the same time, there are simply not enough to go around. You cannot import your way out of a global shortage. Some countries try everything to turn the number around. Cash bonuses for every baby, free childcare, longer parental leave. Some governments pour in hundreds of billions. A few even build state-run matchmaking to help people meet. Almost none of it works, because you cannot pay an entire civilization to want a life it has quietly stopped wanting. 50 years in, the map itself starts to change. Every year, more people die than are born, and the gap keeps widening. A nation of 50 million slides toward 40, then toward 30. The small towns go first. The only grocery store closes, then the clinic, then the last school. The young move to the few cities still full of life, and the town switches off, one dark window at a time. This is not a prediction. In parts of Japan and Italy, it is already the local news. And now something strange happens. Cities that spent a century starving for space suddenly have too much of it. Empty homes outnumber families. Some towns give houses away for free and still cannot find anyone to live in them. Grass pushes up through parking lots. Forests creep back into abandoned villages. Animals wander down silent main streets. For the first time in modern memory, land becomes cheap and people become precious. Of course, humanity does not just sit and watch. Robots and artificial intelligence rush in to do the work that vanished workers left behind. Machines farm the fields. They care for the elderly. They keep the lights on. For a while, it feels like a rescue. But a robot can build a car. It can never become a customer. An economy is not only the people who make things, it is the people who need things, buy things, and dream up the next thing. You can automate the work. You cannot automate the demand, or the ideas, or the future. Meanwhile, the balance of the world quietly tilts. While much of the planet shrinks, a few regions still grow. By the end of the century, a huge share of the world's children will be born in Africa. The nations that shrink the slowest inherit the most influence. Power does not vanish. It simply moves toward wherever the children still are. The map of the future is drawn in birth rates. And through all of this, there is you. You had one child, just one, like most people around you. That single daughter grows up in a world with few brothers, sisters, or cousins. When you grow old, there is no large family to share the weight. One young adult now stands beneath 2 aging parents and 4 aging grandparents. Her generation is small, but the responsibility resting on it is enormous. This is the quiet arithmetic of a shrinking world. Fewer hands holding far more. And slowly, the deepest change is not in the economy at all. It is in how humanity feels about tomorrow. A world with fewer and fewer children slowly stops planning for the long term. Why plant a forest or build something to last 200 years for a population that shrinks every single year? Cultures that once measured time in generations begin measuring it in decades. Humanity always borrowed from the future. Now it looks ahead and finds fewer and fewer people there to borrow from. 100 years have passed. Walk back to that chained school gate from the beginning. The playground is a garden now. The classrooms are full of dust and storage. And somewhere, in some quiet town, a clerk files a certificate that no one notices. The last child ever born in that town. No headline, no alarm. Just a final name in the register, and only silence after it. This is how a civilization can fade. Not with a bang, but with an empty crib. But here is the part the number never tells you. Unlike aging, or gravity, or death, 2.1 is not a law of physics. It is not a curse written into the universe. It is a choice, made by billions of people, one quiet life at a time. Nations are not helpless. A society that makes raising a child feel possible again can climb back toward the line. Homes that people can actually afford, real support for parents, and honest hope about the future. The true danger of the number was never that it cannot be changed. The danger is that it falls so slowly and so silently that by the time a nation finally feels it, the missing generation is already gone. So the most dangerous number in human history was never 2.1. The real question was never whether humanity can survive with fewer people. The real question is whether a world this comfortable can still find a reason to raise someone to inherit it.